welcome to the 911Strong podcast with Kristen and Aram.
Hi.
What's going on, Kristen?
Nothing much.
Oh,
Hanging in there.
good.
Barely.
Yeah.
You?
I see that you're not wearing a mask, so that means you're healthy, right?
Or are the masks supposed to help?
We'll find out when we come back on the next episode of the 911Strong podcast.
Yeah.
Station to all units.
Prepare to copy.
You're listening to the 911Strong podcast.
Don't act like I never told you.
With Aram and Kristen, bringing you stimulating discussion.
No, I like the sound of that.
An entertaining conversation.
And now, here's Kristen and Aram.
Hey guys, welcome back to the 911Strong podcast. With me as always is Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen each other in a couple days because
Days.
weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Aaron went to the dark side.
I went to night shift.
Ditched me.
I went to night shift, and night shift has been messing with me big time, but there's an adjustment period. And for anybody that works nights, I think you'll know trying to do things during the day is nearly impossible.
Yeah. He's been a bear.
Yeah, although for Danny's birthday, I was up for 33 hours.
He was.
So-
he was a trooper.
I worked my 12 and a half hours, which means because of an hour and a half commute to work, I was up for probably 15 hours. And then I drove to Disneyland, right? Mm-hmm. No, how did that work?
I think Liz drove you.
Yeah. Somehow I met with my wife and kids.
That's how tired he was. He was
And
remember.
we drove straight to Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
And we met you guys there, and I got my second wind. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the day, I think I got my third, fourth, fifth, and sixth wind. But
Yeah.
by the time my head hit the pillow, because even on the drive back, I couldn't really fall asleep. I was up for 33 hours.
Yeah. That's a lot.
But I'm a champ. This body is a champ, except for when I had to go to the hospital. I had to go get antibiotics. I had flu-like symptoms, but it wasn't the coronavirus.
Are you sure? Should I be in this room right now?
I think you're fine.
I'm going to go stock up on water.
I've been
and toilet
on.
paper.
Today's actually my 10th day. My last day of antibiotics. But we have 4 kids, and when one gets sick, everybody gets sick in the house. And luckily, I've been able to avoid being sick most of the time. I don't think I remember being sick in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But this one I couldn't kick, and that's why I was kind of worried because I never get sick, and the fact that I got something was worrisome.
Yeah.
And like everybody else, I go on WebMD and I diagnosed myself with coronavirus. And I said, Liz, go get some toilet paper and water like everybody else because that seems to be the cure. Apparently, if you wipe your butt with with Costco Kirkland toilet paper, you'll cure yourself of coronavirus.
I heard Kirkland, though, is stationed out of Washington where the coronavirus is. So maybe that's why they're not succeeding.
Jeez. Speaking of coronavirus, everybody's... let me go back to I went to the doctor because my daughter and I both had really bad coughs.
Yeah.
And they gave us like a bunch of antibiotics and something for coughs and something for my chest. She said she didn't like the way my chest was wheezing. And I forget what the medication is, but she gave me something to clear my chest. And 3 days in the antibiotics, I started feeling great. But they take it so seriously over there. We went and the doctors or the receptionist said it can be like a 2-hour wait at urgent care. And because of our symptoms, that we had to go see a doctor instead of the nurse. So we went upstairs and there's a waiting room full of people with masks on. We're like the only 2 that didn't grab a mask. But they called us in right away.
Okay.
And I felt bad. And everybody in the waiting room was like, why are you guys?
Because they were the ones without the mask.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went in and they said, hey, we called you in first because we just want to rule some things out. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So they checked our temperature. That's the first thing. I think everybody that has a bad cold or flu can be absent of fever.
Yeah.
Except with coronavirus, you have a bad fever.
Yes.
So they checked us and no fever. And since we were in there, they checked us. They said, hey, you have really bad colds. Here's your antibiotics. And we were out of there.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
That's good.
But for everybody that's listening and afraid of the coronavirus, there's reason to be concerned, especially if you're in poor health. You're
elderly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to be affecting a lot. So we pulled up these stats. These stats are cool. I go on this website quite a bit. It's called worldmeters.info, and these are real-time stats. And the ones we're looking at right now, this is worldwide cases of the coronavirus. Currently, there's 118,347. Let's just say 118,000 reported cases of coronavirus. Of those cases, 4,200 people have died. That's about 1,000 people increase from last week when I first checked the stats. Last week, it was 3,200 people that had died. But encouraging enough, 100 out of the 118,000 cases, 65,105 people have recovered.
Yeah.
So it is definitely treatable, and I'm gathering the people that died were unhealthy or didn't bother going to the doctor. Some people don't.
Right.
But of the active cases that are left, only 6,000 are considered serious or critical, and 42,930, so let's round that off to 43,000, are in mild, meaning they're treatable.
Right.
Or seeking treatment. So it's a really bad flu. If you compare that to the flu every year, we lose about 60,000 people in America to the flu.
But they don't really put those numbers out.
Correct. I think you'll start to find more and more comparative stats that way. But that brings us to my next question. Why are people going to Costco and buying water and toilet paper?
I have no idea. I really don't. Because if you go to the hospital or ER or whatever and you get quarantined, they're not going to send you home.
Right.
So are you expecting the runs beforehand and you want to drink water? I don't know.
Well, is diarrhea one of the symptoms?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I mean, maybe,
like, how much toilet paper do you really need? Like,
and why is it Costco?
Well, Target and
Target.
Ralph's.
Okay.
Yeah, they were gone.
I just don't understand. The CDC and the World Health Organization says, wear masks, clean your hands. Okay. Somehow that translates to, I'll buy cases of water and toilet paper. Like, no, we want you to stay home and rest. Okay. I'm going to go battle the crowds at Costco. No, we want you to, take vitamins and get healthy. Okay, well, I'm just going to fight with other people that might be sick.
Did you see the video of the one lady who was talking about it? And it's like, you need to avoid your face, your mouth.
Yes, I did.
And then directly after she licks her finger and then turns the page, I'm like, oh.
I know. It's so, but these are all things that...
But I mean, like, don't go licking, like, I don't know, counters and, wipe your hand on the toilet seat and then walk out there and grab some food. Like,
who's doing that?
Common sense.
Yeah.
Wash your hands, people. And if you're the ones freaking out now, like, were you the ones not washing your hands?
Exactly. People are just now learning that they have to wash their hands because of coronavirus.
Right? Like, do you know what you touch?
Yeah. What was the big scare last year? Was it...
I don't know. I remember when the kids were little, I think it was that H1N1 virus or something like that.
Which was another bad flu.
And I was like, no.
Remember
I
the
didn't buy
swine
into
flu?
it either. Yeah. It's always something.
Mad cow disease. Mm-hmm. What's the most ridiculous? Y2K. I'm still waiting for the world to end.
Do you remember when the world was supposed to end and this guy came in and confessed to murder because he thought the next day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was the craziest thing. I was working that day and we're like, what?
But it really does bring the crazies out, doesn't it? When people are
does.
afraid of their mortality. I got news for you. There's 100% mortality rate. We're all going to die.
Right? Each day we're one day closer to our death.
Yeah.
Sorry to get morbid, but it's true.
Well, this coronavirus brings up an interesting case because it's brought up more discussion about sanitizing and self-care, right? Mm-hmm. So people were buying, I saw a meme where somebody had put some Purell gel and wrapped it up like a bindle and advertised it like he was selling it like drugs, right? Because that's how rare Purell. You can't find hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I
anymore.
heard. Yeah.
But just like people are blindly listening to the media and getting scared, I think they're also blindly listening to some of the advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hand sanitizer is only 60% isopropyl alcohol.
Yeah.
And it costs 3 times as much as isopropyl alcohol, which is 90%.
Yes.
So wouldn't like the normal person buy alcohol and maybe put it in a spritzer bottle and just right?
There's a ton of DIY stuff you can do where it's going to
even
be a
make your
lot
own.
more effective than Bed Bath and Body Works little hand gel that has sparkles in it.
So I have a doctor friend who told me more importantly than the type of soap that you use to wash your hand, because I know a lot of people use antibacterial soap. By the way, most soap is antibacterial.
Yeah.
It's the temperature of the water. He says more important than the type of soap that you use to wash your hands. The soap, all it does is act as a lubricant, and the bubbles in the soap bring out any kind of
the bacteria.
Well, not just bacteria,
dirt.
but like dirt and stuff that are in your pores and whatnot. But it's the hot water that kills the stuff that transfers germs and viruses.
Yeah.
So, which kills me because if you go to Disneyland, for instance,
The water's cold.
Water's cold.
Yeah.
You can't adjust the temperature of it.
Right.
So I'm like,
Same with at our parks too.
oh yeah.
Yeah, all the park bathrooms. I'm only bringing this up because we have softball practice all the time.
Oh.
But yeah, and there's no soap in those bathrooms.
Right.
Like, do you know how dirty those bathrooms are? It's freaking nasty.
Really, I've never spent time in there at all.
Well,
I
because
refuse
you don't
use
go to
them,
the
yeah.
you don't
I'm
go to parks.
No, I'm the guy that goes home to use the restroom.
Well, the kids are a whole other
Yeah.
animal.
So, like, what kind of has this changed your habits at all, or are you pretty much
Not at all. I've always taught my kids to wash their hands before
right?
they eat.
Even at
and-
home, it's like wash your hands before you eat.
Yes, and we have soap at home. We have hand wipes or wet wipes or whatever. I have the antibacterial stuff too, and no, it's just a normal habit that we've built since we were little.
All right. Okay. The one thing I have changed though, I took this page out of Howie Mandel. Is I do fist bumps now. I don't shake hands.
You
Everything's a
know
fist
what's
bump.
funny is there was another person we saw that was giving fist pumps to adults, but shaking kids' hands.
Oh, that's
So
backwards.
it's kind of like
That's backwards. Kids are the grossest. Right? It's like
these are the kids that are picking their noses and
Yeah.
doing other weird stuff.
picking wedgies out, but like
Yeah.
not from the outside of their clothes or
Yeah.
reaching down their pants. It's like, don't worry about coronavirus. You're going to die of other dysentery.
I mean, it's very rare, anyways. I go and shake somebody's hand unless it's in a formal meeting, anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than that, I'm not really doing anything.
Speaking of formal meetings,
Mm-hmm.
a couple weeks ago, you just came back, or a week ago, you just got back from your trip to the FBI Academy in
I
Quantico,
did.
Virginia. I'm sure you did a lot of glad handing over there.
Yes, we did. We did.
So-
it was a lot of fun.
So what's
a lot of learning.
Yeah, I've never been to the FBI Academy. What was the purpose of your trip over there?
It was crazy. So we, just the way that the path has taken us, me and my partner and coworker Melissa, we signed up for one class, fell in love with just personal development, and we went into one that was called Train the Trainer. So it's for trainers to go and train other people in departments. Just things about gratitude and resiliency and mindful meaning and your moral compass and a bunch of like healthy, mindful wellness type topics. And she came across the opportunity to go to Quantico, Virginia. And she's like, I don't know if we qualify. I'm like, well, you know what? If we always say we're not ready, like, then we're just going to be in the same spot we're at anyway. So you might as well shoot for it. And the worst
Right.
they can say is no. So we just really lucked out and they accepted us. And it was really incredible. We were the only, we were 2 out of 3 civilians that were there. And we were the only dispatchers that have ever done it. And it's the Master Resiliency Train the Trainer course. So we were part of that first group ever
that's
to
historical.
train there.
I mean, because
it is.
because
It's
agencies like the
huge.
FBI, the Quantico, they chronicleize all that stuff. So you guys actually go down in history books as the
Yeah.
first dispatchers to ever go through this program. You were endorsed by not only our administration but several administrators from other agencies
Yeah.
as well. What was that like, getting that kind of support to go?
It was crazy just to see that they see the importance of it and they don't, they aren't looking down on us. Like they see us at the same level and they see where our hearts are at and where we really want to go with it. And we really want to change the narrative that it's okay to speak and have emotions and just to look at things differently and to work through it.
Yeah, and that's precisely what we're trying to do is change the narrative. It's already happening in places like Texas where dispatchers are regarded as first responders, and that's currently not the case in California. And when we have brought up these discussions on social media, you see people not understanding why.
Yeah.
And it's not so much because it's an honorary thing, but it's the type of benefits that you can get too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you go to these resiliency training courses where we talk about the importance of mental health. The FBI thinks it's so important enough that dispatchers go.
Right. And actually our military is the one who created it.
Right.
So even they think that it's important for the military, the FBI thinks it's important. So like our agencies need to start adopting this stuff.
Right. And unfortunately, the way benefits work, our laws work in California, dispatchers may not fall into that category of receiving some of these mental health benefits, right?
Yeah.
That'll change once we can get the designation changed to make dispatchers first responders.
Hopefully. I mean, there is a bill in process. We just haven't heard where it's at currently right now. But hopefully more states will start adopting it and we'll get there.
So it's important for people to spread the word and awareness. And I think a lot of the questions is, well, they're not physically on scene.
Right.
And my answer to that is, well, neither would we. We wouldn't be physically on
Right.
scene if it wasn't for our dispatchers
Right.
getting us there.
Right. So yeah, the examples we use, just like a quick example, is like either watching a horror movie with your eyes closed and then shutting it off right as somebody's starting to scream, or reading your favorite book and then ripping out the last chapter and you don't get to finish it.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you guys are physically there, but we establish sometimes an emotional connection to these people, and we're either hearing them as they take their last breath, or we're keeping them from going into shock. Yeah. So yeah, we're not physically there, but I mean, anybody who's even listening to this podcast, they're imagining either what we look like or what we're doing, or, whatever. With books too, your imagination goes wild. So that's exactly what we're doing while we're getting all of our information and putting it out. And you don't know what it's like to hear somebody's like scream or last breath or something like that. Obviously some officers come across that, but we as dispatchers hear it, and that stays in your head.
Yeah. And compound that by as many years as you've done the job, right? I mean, that just it adds on, it piles on, and piles on, and it's emotionally taxing. At the end of the day, how many times when we used to carpool, get in our car and just take deep breaths and say, what a day, right?
Right. And with the guys, I mean, at least you guys get a break after a traumatic experience, because even though it might not be the break you want, you're in the station, or you stop going to other calls because you're just concentrating on that one, and you can do your paperwork or whatnot. And with us, it's just we hang up the phone and we keep on going.
Hit pause.
We don't get breaks, and we don't get to really always hear all of the pieces. So that's another thing why debriefings are really important, and we're not included in that because it puts all the puzzle pieces together.
Right. I think that's really hard for people to understand. It's not just police dispatch work; it's customer service in general, or if you're a call taker. But people don't realize when you finally connect to them on the phone after they've been on hold for how long. That they're worked up, that you may have just gotten off of saving somebody's life over the phone. I know you've talked over the phone and given instruction how to do CPR. People may not realize that you just got done helping save somebody's life. You can't even enjoy that moment of satisfaction because you've got to answer the next call. Now somebody's upset because their neighbor parked too close to their driveway. Yeah. And they have no idea why you're not empathetic to them. Well,
right. And it's hard for us to kind of change our emotions after we come off of such like a traumatic high, and then all of a sudden we have to bring it down and be like, okay, this is their crisis, even though it really isn't in comparison to the other one.
So for people that don't have that kind of perspective, I think discussions like this help. Dispatchers go through an emotional roller coaster as much as cops do. Yeah, I mean, it's different when we're out in the field. We're doing things physically, but on an emotional level, I don't see so much separation. I don't really see. Yeah, we were involved in a shooting together where you were the dispatcher and I was an officer out there, and emotionally we were experiencing the same thing. Yeah, it's just physically we're in different situations. Yeah. So I think that's important to know. I think it's important for people to spread the word.
And it's incredible that the FBI sees the need to include dispatchers.
Yeah,
in
and
type of
I think that's going to be influential once because now the FBI is on board. Hopefully, the local and state agencies get on board.
Well, they said that there's a 6-month waiting process for that program. So now we're going to start going out and teaching it to different agencies and their trainers and everything. And then I don't know if I'm supposed to say just yet or not, but actually, Melissa and myself is going to be at we're going to be doing breakout sessions at I can't think of at her Be Relentless event. Oh, okay. So, and that's going to be in the LA County area. That's coming up in April.
Yeah, because it's not just the fact that our agency is going to benefit from it, because you two are the only dispatchers in the entire country. So conceivably, you can be invited anywhere to go teach this course. Yeah. So that's going to be really important. I congratulate you for doing that. You took a brave step for doing it, because not only people only see the outside that it can be a benefit, but internally we know that you got some crap for it.
Oh yeah. There's some resistance, but you know what? That's the only way to grow is to get resistance.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as a profession, law enforcement, we're just resistant to change. So hopefully this kind of forced change is a good thing. People will realize it, and I applaud you for it.
Yeah, one way or the other, we're moving forward.
Absolutely. So. Speaking of moving forward, how are we going to get done with Corona? How are we going to move forward from coronavirus? All of a sudden, people are, sad. Don't get me wrong. I do have sympathy for the families that are affected by it. People have died from it. But nobody's talking about the 60,000 people that die annually from the flu itself.
I don't know if maybe the news just got bored because the whole politics kind of took a dive after some of the Democrats dropped out.
Yeah, do you think it's
now
intentional?
This is the new thing?
Yeah, it's intentional to bring some distraction.
I think so. The news always does something to hype up something, and they focus on that for such a long period of time, and then all of a sudden in a day it disappears, and they're on the next big thing.
And it's so sad because I have some friends that are journalists in the news, and they work for TV networks. And they can only report what gets approved to be a report. And, I have a friend that's a reporter up in Fresno. She does everything herself. she sometimes does the filming, the recording, the editing, the voiceovers, and producing, and puts all that effort in. And it's discouraging when the directors or the producers say, we're not going to air that, we're going to talk about coronavirus instead.
Yeah.
So there's an agenda, and there are journalists out there that do a very admirable job. They want to report on real news, but they're at the mercy of what the producers put out there. And
It's always what the main man wants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
I don't know what'll come up next. I'm sure it'll be something though.
oh yeah, for sure. If you, I put a meme, not a meme, I guess a picture on my page that showed every year what the media had brought up for the public to get scared.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to 2000 with Y2K.
Oh yeah.
And I remember
Is that the Aztec calendar one too, or was that a
few
different
years
one?
ago. I think that was 2012. Because the Aztecs believed they didn't need to make a calendar beyond the year 2012. For whatever, maybe they ran out of paper. Maybe something happened where
Did they use paper?
maybe the person making calendars were like, I'm done making these 2012.
Right? I mean, you
I'm
can
not
only
gonna be
make
alive.
so many years when it was like hundreds of years ago.
People took that as, well, because the Aztecs said it's going to end in 2012. Like,
Yeah.
What about what the Bible says?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
For those of you guys that have anxiety about when the world's going to end, nobody knows. Only God knows, and God hasn't told anybody, believe me.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so,
gosh.
treat each day as a present.
Yeah. Speaking of ending, I think we've knocked this one to it.
Did we?
Yeah. We did a podcast interview with the Blue Wife Life ladies. Mm-hmm. It was my first time chatting with them, but you know them. You've chatted with them before.
Yeah.
But you were a guest on their podcast.
I was. It just worked out that it just got released the week that we recorded with them.
Yeah. So what can they expect when they listen to your episode?
To my episode, it's a little bit more just, I think, focused on who I was and how I became a dispatcher and then progressively move forward. And I bring up the podcast and everything. And it's just us talking more so, I think, I don't know how many of our listeners will listen to it, but I think it's good. And it'll give the women and wife's perspective of, being an officer's wife and some of the things we go through as dispatchers too. And, what to do if you call 911 and the cell phone hangs up and you don't give me your location, stuff like that. Some basic stuff too.
Yeah, it's really helpful information. And I know the Blue Wife Life podcast is mainly a support podcast for police wives. But I think it gives guys a good perspective.
Yeah.
We're dense when it comes to reading our wives or women in general, right?
Yeah.
So guys,
So if you have questions about women, maybe you should
this is
listen
your
to
secret weapon.
an officer's wife's podcast.
I talked to Mary and Becky, the hosts of the Blue Wife Life podcast, and they told me their stats. 95%, or was it 97%? It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Were women.
Heck
That means
yeah.
only less than 10% of the guys, maybe less than 5% of the guys out there who have access to free information
About understanding your woman.
Yeah. So guys, if you're listening, you should definitely, listen to our podcast, obviously, but you should be listening to the Blue Wife Life podcast. You might learn a thing or two.
Take advantage of the free info.
Yeah, especially if you're in law enforcement, you'll get some perspective as to what your wife might be going through. These two are the most down-to-earth police wives that we've had on here. Mm-hmm. And they let it out. They talk.
Yeah, they're very candid.
Yeah, very, very candid.
Very relatable.
Yeah, when we were off camera and having a discussion, they made me turn beet red. So
They don't hold back.
yeah,
It's a good one. So yeah, make sure you guys listen to our interview with them, my interview with them, and give them your feedback. Give us your feedback.
I'll link up their podcast into our show notes.
Yeah. Sounds
right.
good.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us again on the 911Strong podcast. We'll be back.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, hopefully sooner than later. And I know for those of you guys that have been asking, how come we don't do a regular thing? Well, it's hard. We would love to do these things every week, but life happens.
You know what? Since you guys have been reaching out and saying that, maybe let us know too. Do you want us to span it out like one a week, or would you like it like how we push all of it out all at once too?
But even if
See
they
which
want,
looks better.
Yeah.
Or works better for
I think
our audience.
I'm a binge listener and
I
a binge
know you
watcher.
are, but then it's more consistency. See,
You're
this
right.
is where we're a little like I'm more consistent. Aram's more sporadic.
We're right. You're right. I think we'll probably have to experiment or get feedback from our audience.
Yeah, whatever works
that's
for
the
you
question.
guys is
We'll
where
put that
it's at.
on a poll on our Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you want
To binge.
to binge listen and have all our releases out at once? in groups, like 3 or 4 at a time, or do you want them released weekly?
Yeah.
Let us know.
There's no wrong answer.
Yep.
Either way works.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Kristen, for joining me here. And,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we definitely want your feedback on when we should release these things. So get on our Instagram page.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
You've been listening to the 911 Strong podcast with Aram and Kristen. You can subscribe to the 911 Strong podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and many other fine podcast platforms. You can also see the in-studio recording on YouTube. Just search 911 Strong. We value your opinion. Please leave us a review, and we would really appreciate a 5-star rating. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to tell your friends about us.